Lot to talk about with them. Are their title hopes over and done with? Are they even worth talking about for this upcoming NBA season? All that and more coming up. Thanksgiving's version of First Take. Happy Thanksgiving.
Dalton has the snap. He's being chased. Ball is out. Hit from behind. And that is going to be a safety. Landon Collins got to Andy Dalton. Gibson gets the handoff up to the 5. Walks into the end zone. Touchdown. Now has to step up. Comes out of the end zone. He is hit by John Bostic. And now Dalton is down on the field. Play action. Steps back. Now throwing deep down the left sideline. That's Terry McLaurin. Wide open. Pitch. Catch. Touchdown. Touchdown. Washington.
Okay, so this is obviously a very unusual Thanksgiving, but here's the good news, Max and Stephen A. We still have First Take. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all. And we still have football. And listen to this, Mr. Smith. We still have your Cowboys. And that's exactly where I want to start, fellas. Let's dive right into it because we got a couple games on deck here. So it's the Cowboys versus Washington. Now, Dallas is in a three-way tie for second with the Giants and today's opponent, Stephen A. Smith. Is it time to finally admit that Dallas is actually the best team in the NFC East?
Well, I just want to make sure that I let the national audience know that clearly the team here on First Take have absolutely no love for me whatsoever because it's Thanksgiving. And obviously, that's the first question that I'm being asked. And obviously, I have to admit that the answer is yes. So much to my chagrin, I have to look at the Dallas Cowboy faithful out there and say, as pathetic, as moribund, as horrible as you are this season, with all the bad luck that'll put a black cat to shame, the bottom line is you're still the best team in the NFC East. And it's really, really by default. The New York Giants are a team that has a bright future, but they have no Saquon Barkley and a quarterback that can't hold on to the football in Daniel Jones. So you wash them away. You look at the Washington football team, they don't even have a name, for crying out loud. Okay, we know that they're pretty much null and void. Their quarterbacks are out for the season. We wish Alex Smith nothing but the best. It's a miracle just to see him in that starting lineup. In the case of the Philadelphia Eagles, we've lamented how horrendous their situation has been. Carson Wentz, about 18 turnovers, has been sacked. Lord knows how many times, get knocked upside of the head over 40 times. This dude is all over the place right now. It's been a horrible season for him, and we understand how bad things have been for the Philadelphia Eagles. So by virtual default, even without the presence of a Dak Prescott, even with Ezekiel Elliott having only one 100-yard rushing game on this entire season, which just occurred last week, the Dallas Cowboys by default are the best team in the NFC East, unfortunately.
No, first of all, no one's trying to hear that from you. You have the nerve to come out here on Thanksgiving of all days, where the Cowboys are on the slate every single year. Stephen A. Smith talking about the most nauseating fans ever, the Dallas Cowboy fans. No matter what, they will let you down. Are you actually sitting here today saying that the Cowboys, you are saying the Cowboys are the best team in the NFC East? You are saying the Cowboys? Am I getting this right?
Yes. Yes, because the conference is the NFC East. It ain't even the NFC East. So it's actually apropos that they're the best team in the worst conference in the history of football. The NFC East has the Cowboys as the best team. I see that as very reasonable.
Look, none of them are any good. But if I had to choose the best team right now, I'd say the New York Football Giants. They're trending in the right direction. Their defense is looking good. Their offensive line, at least, is not as horrible as it was a couple of years ago. They're the only team in the division with a young ascending quarterback who's on the field right now. He's ascending slowly, but he is ascending. If I had to say who's playing the best quarterback right now in the NFC East, you make me say it, in the NFC East, I'll say Daniel Jones. And in fact, if you look at the way, yes, the Cowboys had that nice win against the Vikings. They're trending in the right direction, but so are the Giants. The Giants lost to the Cowboys by a field goal a bunch of weeks ago already. They lost a narrow game to the Eagles. They come right back. They beat Washington twice. They lost to the Bucs, Stephen A., by less than a field goal. It was a 2-point loss to the Tampa Bay Bucs, who a lot of people still like to get out of the NFC. And then they just beat up on the Eagles. They beat them by 2 scores. They're the team trending in the right direction. They're the team with the defense. They're the team with the ascending quarterback. If you make me pick in this division, I'll take the Giants over the Cowboys right now.
Well, first of all, here's where I think your argument is wrong. First of all, you talk about trending. Trending doesn't mean you have arrived. Trending means that you're going in a proper direction, but you're not there yet. That's number one. Number two, by the time they get there, Dak Prescott will probably be back, which means as a result, the Dallas Cowboys will have a quarterback that plays better than Daniel Jones. Number three, Saquon Barkley, again, is not there. What we have to applaud about the Giants is the fact that Joe Judge appears to be the right coach. David Gettleman and the Giants brass clearly have picked the right coach, where we don't know that about Mike McCarthy and the Dallas Cowboys. He doesn't seem to be the right coach for them. But they still have Ezekiel Elliott. They still have a CeeDee Lamb. They still have an Amari Cooper. They still have a decent offensive line. Their defense is horrid. They're dead last in the league in points allowed. They're dead last in terms of touchdowns against the pass with their passing defense. They're definitely dead last. We get all of that. But their offense is so potent that the New York Giants can only hope such a thing for them. And that's where I'm at with it. I think that it's plausible that the Dallas Cowboys are the better team right now, regardless of how the Giants are trending. Until they get there, we can't sit up there and say they're better than the Cowboys.
I mean, they just ran through the NFC East pretty good, with the exception of the Cowboys, who they haven't played very recently. They just beat Washington twice and the Eagles. I mean, and by the way, as I said, came close. Really probably should have beaten the Bucs. That to me, that's more impressive, I think, than actually beating the Vikings. But you talk about the Dallas offensive line being decent. No, it's not. Not anymore. Not really. The identity of Dallas and the reason we think of them the way we've thought of them in recent years has been the offensive line. They didn't just put a second-round pick in for an offensive third. They spent 4 out of 5 seasons drafting an offensive lineman in the first round. And that was the key to Ezekiel Elliott, as we're now seeing. And everything else, it was their O-line. That's not there anymore. It's gone. And that's not returning, not the way it was. So those Giants, the way you think of them, Cowboys, the way you think of them offensively is gone, right? But the Giants do have a new coach. You mentioned it yourself. And Joe Judge is doing a good job so far. And he has coached them up. And the defense is coming to get you. No, look, we're talking about 3-7 teams right now. We're not, we're splitting hairs among bottom feeders. But among those bottom feeders, the Giants, right now, you make me pick, they're better than the Cowboys. And furthermore, at least the Giants are my team. You're talking about the Cowboys? We're splitting hairs, and there's not a dime's worth of difference, and your nickel goes to the Cowboys?
Well, I think it's important that you remember how I started off the show. I lamented the fact that I had to even broach this subject. I didn't want to talk about the Cowboys, particularly on Thanksgiving. You're talking to an individual that doesn't believe the Dallas Cowboys have earned the right to play on Thanksgiving. I don't think they deserve it. I don't think the Detroit Lions deserve it. But that's a subject that we'll get into a little bit later on in the show. But I think it's important to remember that you sit up there and you want to give yourself a pat on the back and a round of applause, because guess what? The Giants beat the Eagles and the Redskins. The Redskins are playing their third string quarterback. Now, we know that Alex Smith is not a third stringer when he's healthy, but that nasty leg injury that he suffered a couple of years or more than a year and a half ago, we didn't know if he'd ever play football again. So we applauded the fact that he was just on a football field playing. Dwayne Haskins is out. Kyle Allen is out. You look at Antonio Gibson. He's had one 100-yard rushing game this season. Rushed for 128 yards. Actually, a very stellar performance. Who was that one game against? The Dallas Cowboys. And that was the game the Washington football team won 25-3 because the Dallas Cowboys elected not to show up. In the end, the Dallas Cowboys on the offensive side of the ball has talent, and they have more talent than anybody in the NFC East, as you so eloquently stated, regardless of their problems on the defensive side of the ball. And I think because of that, as of right now, with the specter of Dak Prescott coming back eventually, we all hope and pray, I think the Dallas Cowboys, unfortunately, are still the best team in the NFC East, because if one team was going to challenge them, it was supposed to be Carson Wentz and the Eagles, and we know how horrible they've been. Nobody's documented that more than you, Max.
All right. Let's go there right now. Speaking of the Eagles. So they are in first place, fellas. I know this is a big